Oh, there it is.
Oh, Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Whatever on Wednesday show. I'm Joanne Tierney Daniels, and I'm here with Larnie Mulvey, and this is our inaugural show. We're going to drink to toast to that. Got your drink?
Got my drink.
So if you have a drink out there, join us. We're just going to wing it. It's going to be unscripted, which is not my typical MO. I'm much more scripted, much more prepared, but I wanted to have a more fun and lighthearted show. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a jack of all trades. I'm a podcast host and a producer of that podcast, and that podcast is called Adversity to Inspiration. It's a little bit more heavy than this program, and so I didn't want to do that for the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network fans and family. I've been invited to join this family. I'm honored and touched, and I love the guys who run it, and wanted to give it a shot and join the gang. So we're here tonight. And Larnie, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? I don't want to hog the spotlight. You're my special guest.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for letting me be part of your first show. This is going to be really fun. So my name is Larnie Mulvey, a.k.a. I'm the Power Lady. I am a women's strength advocate. I'm an author, speaker. I'm also a mind strength coach, but also I am a power lifter. So that is me in a nutshell. And I love talking about all things strength and power. And that's why, and I have my power bun. So that's another reason why I'm called the Power Lady.
Perfect. So I'm an author as well. We both recently been part of some best-selling books. So, that is something if you guys want to check out our individual pages and send us some friend requests. We love to share all of our info and broaden our audience as well. But this is my home for now, my secondary home. So the topic of today's conversation was, as all of you can imagine out there, powerlifting is not the typical sport for women. It's in a stereotypical sense. Many men and women across the globe don't believe women belong in the sport, and quite frankly. And Larnie is breaking the glass ceiling and barriers and the gender biases that she's encountered in the gym. So Larnie, let's start with something lighthearted. Tell us a story about a man's reaction to discovering you're a power lifter, or their reaction to seeing you in the gym, something that will make us laugh.
So before I got into powerlifting, I was into fitness and trying to learn and embrace what my strength was. So the first time I ever went to a gym, like a gym that actually had bigger weights and bigger, heavier things that I could lift, I was actually dating this dude. I was dating this guy. And I was, curious about the heavier weights. So I started lifting a little bit heavier, next dumbbell up, more plates. And in a roundabout manner, he didn't tell me up front. He pretty much said that he asked me to stop lifting heavy because I was lifting more than him. And I was, and it's funny because it's like he didn't tell me that like straight up front. He used to take a measuring tape and measure my calves to compare to his. And I'm sorry, I'm a short, stocky woman, and my calves are just naturally bigger, I guess. I mean, for me, it's hard for me to find any kind of boot. Boots don't go past my ankles. So, I see everybody else's cute little outfit in the fall, and I'm just like, okay, well, guess boots are out of the question again this year. So
that might be our next endeavor. We're going to have to start a boot company for female power lifters. That could be our next side gig. They say the millionaires have 7 streams of income. That'll be our next thing.
Exactly.
So I think that's a great segue. I mean, it speaks to the traditional concept of beauty and size and what people, believe is feminine.
Yes.
I think you're a gorgeous woman in all of your own right. And, but I think that you're not the typical, and I'm not either. We're not the typical runway or our magazine cover females. And I think that there's something to be said for that really diversity and pigeonholed. I see these young teenage girls, young women out there with body image issues, even today. I mean, think about today. I mean, in our day, well, I'm probably a little bit older than you, but in my day, it was, the Cindy Crawfords, the emaciated women, and we saw them on magazine covers. But today, these young girls are in the spotlight all the time. They have you're on camera 24/7 now today. They have to deal with social media and filters, and there's never a natural photo of anybody. I think to myself, what do these poor girls think about image and beauty, and how do you even survive in the era of cell phones? I talk about that. And can you imagine if there was a cell phone in my day? I wouldn't be employable. I wouldn't have been invited to the Coast to Coast Network. I would have been kicked to the curb. They would have been on one of the crime shows, 48 Hours or CSI. So what do you think about that?
Okay, so I'm going to add another layer to this. So, being Asian American, being Asian in a world where, we are stereotypically small. We are supposed to be small. And then here I am, bigger, stockier. And, I went through that phase when I was younger where I wanted to be small, where I grew up seeing, what did I see on TV? I saw like the younger, more slender images in like the Bop magazines and, like all these family shows that are supposed to show American families, and all the girls didn't look like me. I don't remember one show back in maybe in the 80s, early 90s that had like an Asian girl. Unless there was, and I didn't notice it. And that image, oh my gosh, that gave me such an identity crisis. And like I went through all these like ups and downs of who I was, and bring it to fast forward to now. Oh my gosh, it's so easy to scroll yourself into comparison. It's so easy to like see everything that that media and what other people's opinions are like bombarding you, like you're this, you should be this. It's just so hard to find your identity. Like it's so hard to really understand who you are when there's just so much to compare yourself to.
And they're false comparisons. You're comparing yourself to somebody who has a filter and makeup and Botox. It's not, especially for girls, I think, and there's also a big socioeconomic divide in the country. Not everybody can afford Botox at 18 or 17. And I think that those, young women are getting Botox now as a preventive measure. They're getting it in their 20s and teens, so that they're supposedly then your wrinkles will be minimized when you get older. So
I just see a lot of I sometimes see things posted that I think are jokes, that I just saw something where they're making these cleavage reducers or wrinkle cleavage reducers on Amazon or something. You sleep with it in between your cleavage so you don't get that that like wrinkle if you sleep on your side. I'm like, really? These people are making things like this for women to not look older. What is wrong with looking older? It's part of life. We are supposed to look old.
Well, I'm not going to go that far, Larnie. I don't want to look old. I'm on my other screen typing up cleavage wrinkle reducer on the second monitor.
But yeah, it's like those kinds of things. We have to learn about embracing who we are and what God gave us. Like, this is the vessel that, I was blessed with, and I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to learn how to use it. And for a long time, I hated it. I hated being the bigger girl. I hated that when I looked for pants when I was younger, I was in the double digits. I was in the 12s. I was in the 14s. And it makes you think about yourself when you're younger. It's like, oh my God, why can't I be this and why can't I be that? And when with my culture being Filipino, it's like we love to eat. Why not eat?
You're breaking up a little bit, Blarney. We missed that. I don't know if it's me or you.
Sorry. Let me see here. All right, maybe now. Can you see me now?
I see you, but you're frozen.
I'm frozen? Oh, okay. Nope. Hi, everybody. Hold on 1 second. Intermission, please. Okay. We are still going live. We're waiting for Joanne to come back. So just give us a few moments. There is some technical difficulty. So 1 second.
All right, so it's me. It's me. We're having a huge storm here. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
I just went on my phone just in case. I'm like, maybe it's mine.
I'm on my phone. Chris, are we back on? Are we back in the game?
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
You're back.
All right, sorry everybody. Wouldn't be live without some hiccups. So Larnie and I are back. We're back.
I know. I was like, technical difficulties. We'll be back.
Well, thank God we had this. Thank God we had this. Back.
I was like, I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna sit here and let's see what happens.
All right. So let's go back to your point about I forgot what we were leaving off, where we were saying we were talking about the cleavage, and then
the cleavage preventer while you're sleeping. And then we were talking about pretty much how, you know what, I was going on a tangent and I don't remember what.
All right, so we'll have to segue into something new.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you brought up I didn't want to get too heavy on the program, but you talk about being Asian, and today, I mean, there's really a stigma in regard to many Asian people, and the elderly are being beaten and victimized in stores and in the streets. I mean, have you seen any of that victimization, and what are your thoughts about it?
I personally have not. I have not had any experience with being kind of like focused on or anything like that, which is I'm grateful for and I'm blessed for. But the Asian American hate, it's so I don't understand it. Like, I really don't understand what the stigma is around Asian Americans right now. And I was actually talking to somebody about this a few days ago, and we still didn't understand why is there this hate. Is it because of the coronavirus came from an Asian country? I don't know. But really, it's like, what are we getting blamed for? And we are the quiet, most Asian Americans are like assimilated into the culture, and we don't really know where all this came from. I feel like, honestly, it like came out of the blue, where people were getting attacked and injured. And, I have family in California where, there's a very large Asian American population there. And like, I worry for my family. I worry for my aunts. I worry for my cousins who are, they may not be elderly, but it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And
I think it's an excuse. It's just another excuse for hate. It's just it was convenient at the time, it was, and it's like with any crime, if you'll see, and those who don't, many people don't know that, my day job is in criminal justice for the past 28 years, but everybody's becomes a copycat. It's like the school shootings. You have one person do it, then so that's almost like the in thing. Let's beat some Asian American elderly people because we're carrying hate in our lives, and they're expressing it at the easiest targets. I do want to say too, and I don't know if we have any comments, but this is an interactive format. People can hop in and ask us any questions. I don't know how we would see it on our phones, but there's a little chat button. I see Christine said hello. Hi, Christine. Thanks for joining us. If you're still in, there comes the chat. All right, we have one chat, but if anybody wants to, hey, somebody's watching us, Larnie. We got somebody on.
I will take it.
Yeah, I will too. Although I don't need anybody else. I have you. But so tell us about powerlifting. I mean, what brought you into the sport? Because it's not something that as a young girl.
One choice.
Yeah, not for women. It's not even the number one choice for men.
Yeah, it's almost, powerlifting is one of those. It's like I shouldn't say it's a silent sport, but it's a sport you either know about in high school. Like, I didn't know anything about powerlifting back in the day. I knew about like bodybuilding, and I knew about like bigger strength sports, like World's Strongest Man, like those things I grew up with. But when it came to powerlifting, like, I didn't really know that women powerlifted until really maybe like 10 years ago. And I didn't even really touch a barbell until maybe 10, 12 years ago. But I never thought I'd compete. I never thought I would be like, oh, you know what? I want to get on the platform and compete. And I tried a whole bunch of different sports before powerlifting. So I tried CrossFit, and I just didn't really like it. And I tried jiu-jitsu, and I'm not very good with that either. I've tried like all these different fitness activities because I enjoyed being active. But since I always knew I was strong when I was little, I really embraced that in like the past like 5 years. And I was like learning how to get like swole, getting really swole and big. And it's funny because when I thought about doing powerlifting, I was like, one day, I remember it was March 13. I went to my home gym here, March 13, 2019. And I said, you know what? I'm going to powerlift. And I looked at all the trainers that were listed, and I saw the one girl who was my first coach, love her to death. And she was a competitor. She was certified. And I was like, I'm going to work with her. I've always wanted to like lift something heavy and compete. I'm going to go with her. And I was looking at my videos from what it was when I first started. Oh my God, I was terrible. But I loved it. I loved feeling the barbell in my hands. I loved how it was challenging. And it was like, it really opened my eyes to embrace how strong I was. It just gives you a different kind of mentality. And a lot of those lessons I've learned in powerlifting now really transfer into my life. Like how I talk with you, how I eat, how I interact with people who are like, oh my God, I don't want to be manly, so that's why I don't, lift heavy or whatever. I was like, ugh, jeez.
So we have a question. We have some people who commented. Tim commented. Tim Fielder asked, what would you suggest for a beginner?
That's a great question. So as I was a beginner, I really searched out a coach that knew about powerlifting because, not all trainers really know powerlifting, or they've been around powerlifting, but to program a powerlifting program, that takes some skill. That takes some skill. And for beginners, search out a support group that is in powerlifting, that's on, there's a ton of groups on Facebook that can help. But, the one thing to be careful about is people who are not versed in powerlifting, and they just like, go do it, do whatever, lift 500 pounds and blah, 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 without asking you questions about what's your ability, what have you touched a weight before. And there's a lot of online coaches available out there that work with beginners. They work with beginners. My powerlifting coach works with youth, but and then people like me who've only been powerlifting for like 2 years. It takes a really long time to work on your technique, and for beginners, I think if you reach out to the right support system, you'll get directed in a great way.
So it's not like you can't go to Planet Fitness, for example. You have to go to a dedicated gym. It's not just the regular, like the average the average fitness buff who's starting out. They can't wander in there and pay their $10. I mean, are there actually gyms? I see you in the gym and you have that equipment. So I haven't seen that in my mall yet. So
yeah, like my home gym is a general gym. But they allow powerlifting in like a special section. But at like other places, you're not allowed to use a certain weight, or you're not allowed to drop the weight. Like powerlifters, we like to lift and then just drop it sometimes. And, they don't allow that. So as someone who's a beginner, I searched for somebody who's going to teach me properly, because it's going to be easy to use your body in the wrong way. We call it, I don't know if I could cuss on here, but
I go for it.
so like we call it muscle fucking it up.
All right.
So you could be really, really strong and get weight over your head or, bench it. But if, you're really losing your gains by doing that, because you could probably lift more if you worked on your time. So, and prevent injury. So that's really big.
Are you, how many women are at the gym? I assume you're not the only one. I mean, is it just a handful, or is it a big population?
Well, the sport of women's powerlifting is getting bigger. It's getting bigger. Like, I belong to a Facebook group, which is a great group of women. And the group is called Old Ladies Lift. It's a great group. But, the funny thing is, like, some of these women that are on there, they're in their 60s and they're competing and they're lifting really well. Like, there's some people who are in their 70s in the group. They're lifting really well. So I think what's for me, powerlifting is it's really between you and the weight. You have to pick.
What is the weight range? I mean, what constitutes powerlifting?
Oh gosh. Well, okay. So in my gym, you asked about how many women are in the gym with me. I mean, for me personally, it's me and maybe 2 or 3 other women. And one of my teammates, she's a teenager, so she's learning how to powerlift and she's loving it. But for me, I'm the oldest one in the gym. The 44-year-old old lady in my gym, I'm the oldest one in the gym. But really, like, your weight is almost like irrelevant when it comes to competing, because like weight is like, for me, the most I've ever deadlifted was 402. But
Wow.
there are other women who deadlift more than me. They're world record holders. There's Jen Thompson, who is like, I think she's an 11-time powerlifting champion. She is 120 pounds, and don't quote me on that, I don't remember, but she can bench over 300.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are most of the power lifters slight or heavy? I mean, or is it just a wide gamut across the spectrum?
It's a wide array of body types, and that's what I love about powerlifting. It doesn't pigeonhole you to be this. If you want to try it, if you want to do it, if you want to train for it, go for it. And the powerlifting community is so supportive about it. And, we never want to see you fail an attempt. We cheer you on. And, like, if you do make an attempt and it doesn't work, we still cheer you on. And
what about the men? What about the men in the community? Do they embrace the women as well?
The men that I work out with, they totally embrace us as women to, they cheer us on as much as everyone else. There are a few men who don't really like, their women or a woman being stronger than them or showing them up or having, even abs, like, I don't have any abs, but the women who do have abs, like, some of the guys, you're too manly if you have abs. I'm like, oh my gosh, come on. And it's that, that women's perception of who we are. I mean, if you put my husband and I next to each other, he's 6'2", he's gigantic. And people always go to him like, oh, how much do you power lift? Or how much do you lift? And he'll tell them and he go, you should ask what she lifts. I'm only 5'1" on a good day. On a tall day, I feel like a 5'1". And, I've been around powerlifting more than he has been. And it's like, people always assume that he is the power lifter and I'm just the wife.
But he powered this as well, right? He just
started maybe a few months ago. So he switched from a more like a bulking phase to now powerlifting. And there's like the perception is still there where he's the good guy, he's the more stronger one. But I mean, I've competed more than he has.
So on date nights, are you out rolling that big tire in the field that we always see on the commercials, or pulling a tractor with a chain?
You know, I'm not going to lie to you, but we do have a tire in our backyard. We do have a tractor tire in our backyard. We have our home gym downstairs in the basement that goes, I mean, we don't have a lot of weight, but I mean, we can do up to 400 if we're down in the basement. So yeah, sometimes we do.
That's fun. But at the same time, when you look at your pictures there, you certainly have a feminine side and a femininity to yourself, right? You look fabulous. You dress up. You wear dresses. You curl your hair. So it's not just you're multifaceted.
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
just
really.
You're a woman. You're a wife. You're an author. You're a woman's advocate. There's just so much that not one thing ever should describe any of us, I believe. And I think that you are just a model example of that, about the diversity and just one soul, one spirit. And that's really the way that our life should be. You're pursuing what you love professionally and athletically, and something that you never. Let's talk about that. I mean, really about how your father really kept you from the sport and athletics in general when you were young. I think that that's really an important piece of the story.
Yeah, it was being an Asian American growing up in America, for a female, we were told or like silently directed strongly to work on our academics. That was really the priority in our family, was academics. Like it was something that was, yes, it is important for us to have education, but when for me, when academics was so easy, I wanted to do something else, and I really wanted to play sports. I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed to even, I don't know if I told you about my dance tryout story, where I, stayed behind school to like do this dance tryout, and my dad found out. He came and got me. He's like, "You're not going to shake your butt in front of everybody." So, I mean, it's like, I love the idea. I love the fact that my parents, especially my dad, was very protective. I mean, every parent is like protective over the kid, but when he comes in and like tells me to leave a tryout, oh my gosh. I mean, imagine that, and like how I felt like I disappointed him because I wanted to do something different.
And even just your body image, your image, your body image, and your perception of yourself, just even the fact that you went to college and you were athletic trainer, that was against what he probably wished as well, right? I mean, you really transitioned to that, and I know that your father's passed on, but did he accept and embrace your career before he left the?
Eventually, he figured out what I did. So we'd watch like football or something together on TV, and somebody would get injured, and he'd be like, "So, which one would you be? Which one of the group of people would you be? The one who? How about the one with the fanny pack?" I said, "Dad, that would be me." The one touching the athlete. I was like, "Yes, that would be me first." Then who's that guy? I said, "That's the doctor." And why isn't the doctor touching? I was like, well, because we do the evaluation of the doctor. If they need it, we'll go forward. Oh, okay. Every Sunday, whenever there was a football game, I would go visit him on Sundays, and that would be the same conversation every time. So who's
So it's nice. I mean, that was probably his way of letting you know that he accepted it, and that was a great gift that he gave to you, before his death. So I love that piece of the story too. He grew through your depth and your journey and you embracing what you were passionate about. So I think that that's a great story to parents and children. Just keep striving towards what you want, and I think in most cases your parents evolve and come along for the ride. It may take them a little bit, but
yeah.
they're coming from a different era in many respects. I mean, fortunately, even myself as a parent, you model yourself and say, I'm not going to be like my mother, or I'm not going to be like my father. And I don't know if either one of them are watching. I'm saying that as a compliment. I embrace all of their oneness, but that's the reality. You do pick up those traits, and I mirror myself. My sons are talking actually yesterday about my nephew went skydiving, and my sons were talking about, oh, when we're 18, we're going to want to go skydiving. And I said, well, listen, I just read a story about a young man and the parachute didn't open. And they said, you take the fun out of everything. But I'm not telling you not to do it. I just said, make sure you research and make sure it's a credible organization. And they're like, oh, forget it. But, that's something that a parent says. When I was 18, I would have been like, skydiving, parachute, who needs any of that? I would have done the total reckless thing, and yes. Now I tell them not to. So that's great. So we could talk all night. We said 30 minutes. We could go to 60. We had a little bit of time delay. So what do you want to talk about? Why don't you tell us about your book?
Oh, I didn't think about that. So
why not?
For me to publish my first book ever, it's only taken like a 20-year dream to think about this, because I didn't want to write a book just to write a book. I wanted to write a book that actually had some meat on it and some value. So when I came up with this book, it's called Standing in Strength, Inspirational Stories of Power Unleashed. I knew this was a book. I knew that I wanted to contribute to the collective of promoting and supporting strong women through athletics, through sports. And when I learned about powerlifting and all the lessons that it's taught me, I wanted to put it in a book. I wanted to put my thoughts about powerlifting and what it's taught me growing up, figuring out my life, and how it's helped me get through a lot of obstacles and open a lot of doors, really. I wanted to share that story, but then I was realizing there were other people who had stories as well. And all the women that are in this book share how athletics, movement got them through some dark times, how it got them to trust their bodies. And the last author, her name is Ray Ellsworth, and her chapter, I put her at the end on purpose because her chapter is called Dare to Be Great. And her chapter shows like a journey of where the hurdles came because she was injured as an athlete, but now she's sharing her knowledge with her athletes in the training, in her own training. She is a strength and conditioning coach. So now she is the one building everybody. So she is the one that is, the head strength and conditioning coach, where she is building. She feels that building people is more than just lifting a weight. It's lifting a weight and understanding your capability. And that's where that Dare to Be Great idea comes from. And I felt like that was a great rounded way to harness all this power that's in this book and send it to the world and let everyone know, Dare to Be Great.
I think too, on the flip side of that, for me, evolution and growth came from lifting some emotional weight, ridding yourself of that. So that's a very important component as well. I believe that people should address things that are limiting beliefs and barriers that are holding them back. And, that's part of my whole mindset coaching and all of that piece, that I'm a mindset geek. And I was recently participated in a compilation book as well. And I think that that's a great opportunity for people who really would love to write a book. It's their passion. And, a whole full-length book is really daunting, but hop in that way. They're often bestsellers. I mean, our book was a bestseller before it even came out. So, that's something, a moniker you get to carry for the rest of your life. You're a best-selling author. And it feels great if if that's your passion. And so many people would like to write a book. I say become a part of a compilation book, reach out to us. We'll do another book. Let's do another one. What could be our title?
Yeah, Joanne, I got something to ask you after. Anyway.
All right, perfect. On air or off?
Either way, I mean, I have a summit coming up. It's called Standing in Strength, and I would love to have you be part of one of the speakers. So,
cool. I'm honored. Now I'm going to be part of this strong and mighty family. I'm just reaching out all over. Yes, I'd love to do it. Thanks so much. Yeah, that'd be great. So I'm going to have to tell the coast to coast. I'm already going to drop you. My first show in, I'm moving on with Larnie. But so that's fabulous. I'd love to be a speaker. I certainly, I'm all about empowering women. I do have 3 sons. I call them my entourage, and I'm certainly an advocate. I'm an advocate for, raising men who are mindful and respectful of women. I think that that's part of my mission. I always talk about how I was chasing boys my whole life, and then I got married. I came from sisters, and then I only had sons. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? When I found out I was having a son, I cried. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with boys. I'm used to just chasing them around and, dating them, and now I got to raise them. I don't know how to do that. But I think it was really part of my mission to really learn. I had been intimidated by men my whole early life as a young girl, and then even in the dating world in my 20s, in some regards. If I had a drink or two, I certainly put my inhibitions down. But I think it was a way, having boys made me just a better person. And I think that, particularly in regard to my oldest son, he's just a kind, sweet, personable boy. And he's a man now, really. But I think that's, and I don't take the credit for that. I think that that's universe or a higher power or something really brought them into my life to, instead of me making them better people, I think they made me a better person.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That about them. So, and I think that that's really the power of parenthood and just and womanhood in general. I mean, here's a great quote, Larnie. Did you ever see that movie? And it's from a poem, that The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Do you remember that movie?
I remember that movie, but it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And somebody recently told me that, but it came from a poem of the same name, and I may misquote it, but the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, because women do have such power in regard to how they raise the people who are coming into the next generation. And I talk about that too in my coaching, that if you heal yourself, if you're carrying some burden, and that's part of the reason I went on an emotional journey, is that you are healing your children's children. Because we pass down all of this dysfunction, and it's a pattern and a cycle throughout society and the world. And I think that that's why hate perpetuates. It's carried from generation to generation, and it's so difficult to break that cycle. Yes. And I think when you hear about the people, if you hear about any of these people who you read about them, like the people who have been arrested now for victimizing, even for example, the Asian Americans we spoke of, they have had horrific lives, and themselves are probably, lacking love, and there may be a mental illness component of it. In some regards, you hope so. You hope that it can be attributed to that instead of just plain hate and evil. But I think that, love really is the cure. And I think that that's cliche and easy to say. But I think with this podcasting, and it too, with the summit, when you bring these positive people into your life,
yes,
it changes the course of your life. And I think your circle is so important. And that is the benefit of COVID now. Think about it. We talk to people all over the world, where last year we wouldn't have. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you and I wouldn't have become friends. We just have I just have such a broad circle now and a foundation. And they're not all I'm not going to invite them all to Thanksgiving dinner. You and I, of course, we can do the wishbone. You and I can do it. But and Tim Fielder, you're in. He's going to be starring in my next movie. He and Sandra Bullock. He's already made that determination in the last show. But that's it. I wouldn't have met Tim until last week either. So I think that's really. Now tell me about someone that you've met, throughout the course of I mean, inspirational people and uplifting people.
Gosh. You know,
Out there for me.
honestly, the okay, so I was in a really rough place in the beginning of 2020 because I was just miserable where I was at. I was really miserable. Like I felt like I wasn't helping people. I felt like I was kept getting put in the back burner at my old company, and I was like really searching, and like the voice that I had was wanted to like so bad that it like burned my throat. And when I started, you know, comes back to powerlifting. When I started powerlifting, it like brought a lot of confidence in me to ask. And when I am talking about like the people that I've met, there's so many wonderful people I've met. And it's like I can't really pinpoint maybe one or two. One is Crystal Richardson and one is Dawn Bates. Dawn Bates helped me write my book, and Crystal Richardson is just an amazing woman. She's like an innovator, and what I love about her is she'll tell me like it is. You know, she'll tell me like it is. She'll like I this is the first summit I'm putting together myself, and I texted her, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then she sends me, we talk, and she goes, why are you sending me this text message? You know what you're doing. And I was like, no, I don't. And pretty much she's like, you know, like just she has a certain pause that makes me step back and think a little bit. And I go, you know what, Crystal, never mind. I do know what I'm doing. I just realize that I need to know that I know what I'm doing. And it's those kinds of nudges, those love nudges from people that support me, that understand that I am a lot stronger than I think I am, and I'm capable of doing a lot more. Those are the people that have really, really embraced me, and not just my power. I mean, like I said, there's just so many people that I've met throughout this past year, like including you, you know, like there's just so many awesome people that I've met. And we're also positive, and we're all like almost like going the direction of making sure that everyone is helping each other and supporting each other and loving each other. So,
I think you just said something very, very significant, is that you came to a point, I'm losing power on my phone, so I had to plug it in. Because I didn't expect to be on the phone. But when you really, it was the same thing for me. The same thing for me is that when I started to ask for help, when I started to ask for things, because I had been afraid to ask people for anything. I just handled everything on my own for years, even in relationships, until I started asking for what I needed and telling people what I want and the course and what I'm willing to accept. I really didn't see a change or a shift in my life, and I didn't get what I needed. And so I think that that's across the board in my family relationships, in my intimate relationships, in my personal relationships and friendships. And I let some friends go. I let some people go. You know, I had to close my circle. And the same time I was opening and broadening it, I had to close it because it wasn't, there are people who aren't beneficial to me, and people who just only wanted and needed things from me and didn't want to reciprocate. And, you know, I think I consider life like a number line. You know, I'm always going to be a +4. There are many ways I'm a +4. I'm over the top. I can be overwhelming. And I can take someone who's a -4, you know, we can meet in the middle. But sometimes you got to be a -3 or a -1 or, you know, meet me at 0. And I think that, you know, I've read oftentimes invest in people who invest in you. And I do believe that to a degree. But your investment doesn't have to be mine. It just has to be something. It has to be what you're capable of. It can't be just taking and giving and receiving. And I don't need a lot, but you know, I do need appreciation and thanks occasionally, and respect and common courtesy. Mm-hmm. You know, if I text somebody and they don't text me back for 5 days, all right, you're probably not going to get another text from me. That's just the reality.
Exactly.
Unless it's you because you've invited me into the summit. I'll make an exception for you.
Yeah, and like when I think about when I wrote this book, okay, Dawn Bates, she helped me publish this book. And my style of people coming to me to like make sure I am to being the best version of myself, sometimes it has to be harsh, but sometimes it's in a loving manner where it makes you think about who you are a little bit more, makes you think, like look inside you a little bit more. And that's where like that, you know, I wrote that the tools of strength came in, you know, when people like Dawn come to me and say, you know what, you need to look inside yourself a little bit more. It's like, shoot, you know, it's like almost like, oh my gosh, you're right. You're right. And it helped me overcome those hurdles that I was putting up for myself. I was like putting up those walls for myself because I didn't want to see what was outside. But then you take them down and then you're like, holy cow, there's so much cool stuff out there. You know, it's like I was protecting myself, but really was it just stopping me from seeing what was available or the opportunities outside? So
yeah, so you know how I had a weight issue for many, many years. And it's the same thing. The weight was protecting me, but at the same time, it was imprisoning me. And I think that that's really what our limiting beliefs do. They really limit our lives. I wouldn't be social. I wouldn't be in this program for sure. I'd be thinking, oh, you know, do I have rolls on my face? Where's the cleavage? Whatever, doohickey, the new design. So I think, I don't know, I think Coast to Coast has another show coming up, so we're probably going to have to wrap it up, Larnie, but thank you so much for being my first guest, and I know I'll see you again, certainly.
yeah.
No, I'll see you at the summit, but I hope to see you again on Coast to Coast Entertainment, this network. It was a lot of fun. We had some technical difficulties, and normally before this journey, I would have been flustered. I would have been swearing. Poor producer Chris, he's not used to women. He's probably thinking, what are these crazy ladies doing? But he stuck with us. So I want to give a shout out to our producer Chris, and he did a great job keeping us on track. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm going to take a quick look. We have Chrissy, Tim, Courtney, Donna. Thank you all for the feedback and the program. We appreciate it. We appreciate the love, and please like and follow the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I'll be back next Wednesday with, I think my guest next Wednesday is Jess Bam, and she has a great story too for any women or people who stuck in a relationship that was just okay and safe, and they were complacent and didn't want to take a chance. Jess has a great story too. She was diagnosed with a brain tumor and then decided to change her life and live fearlessly. And so I love you two are two of my favorite guests of all time. So you're going to start my first 2 weeks off. We have one more comment. Courtney, she loved our conversation. Thank you all for tuning in. So like and follow, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
And then we have to talk about Larnie's Summit. You can see us both again together. We'll be publicizing that too on our personal pages. And Larnie, put a shout out to your page. Where can people find you before we?
Sure. I am very active on Instagram. It's at Larnie Mulvey, so it's pretty much the way it's spelled down there. So if you find me on Instagram, you can see some of me training. You can see my failures and my successes, but also my daily strength posts that give you a little boost, a little power boost every day. So you can see all that, and pretty much that's the best way to find me. And on LarnieMulvey.com.
And same, I'm jtdcoachesme.com, or you can check me on my Facebook page, Joanne Tierney Daniels, on all of my other social media, at jtdcoachesme. So we have a lot of pseudonyms. We're supposed to be out in the public eye, but we use a lot of different names. But you can find us here. You can find us anywhere. And if anybody has any questions, reach out to us personally. We're both very open, and we'll speak to anybody about anything, weight, powerlifting.
Yeah. Ask me anything. Anything strength and power. I love it.
Yeah, we love it. So this is our Power Hour. That's what we're going to call our first episode.
Yes.
Power Hour with the Power Lady. So thanks, everybody. So Tim, I think you can play us out.